right. Delete this minus, enter. Okay, now back to our new script. I think I fucked up with setting this prefab. I exposed it and I don't need to expose it. Let's do spawn point scene, grab our spawn point, come back into here. Okay. Our prefab does not need to be exposed. Right? I don't actually want to see it. However, I do want to see my building list. Save that. Come back to new script. There's building list, size, 2 buildings. Right? Now, I could either go through and do it this way, and you'll see that it's going through my assets folder. That one. Or you can drag it in. All right. Now we're talking. You can see that this main script is starting to pick up all of our project variables. That is appropriate. Later, Vince. Later, panties. All right. We're in play mode. Let's go back to this. And we see that on start, that building showed up. In fact, it happened so fast that we didn't even see what showed up. And this time it showed up red. This time it's gray. All right. Now let's move the building down. I could do this in the main script for the sake of speed right now. I am going to... actually, let's do it the right way. I prefer doing things when an object is spawned, that the object takes control of itself. However, one thing that we can do is spawn prefab, spawned name, sorry, not spawned name, spawned game object is add action game object. Notice it's not animation. That's literally calling an animation type. So it's game object movement, move to let's move it to location. Okay. When it's finished spawning in this game object, add variable game object, spawn this game object, use this game object to move it to this location. Let's actually create a add variable vector 3, this location. Actually, so I'm going to move it on, let's see, where's my world axis? There's 3, let me check my spawn points. Okay, I'm just going to come back. We're just going to, I'm not going to bother exposing this because what I want to do is basically move it, actually, I'm second guessing myself. Hold on. Expose this to Unity, and I think it's going to be this. Let's just call it that. Use as offset. False transition time. Let's call it in 2 seconds. Actually, let's do this. Add variable. Dark blue is a float. Let's add a float. Double check that. Another blue. Okay. And then let's save this. Don't do it too fast. Left it at 0. Let's try to make this at 3 seconds. So I take that back. 3 seconds is going to be too long. Let's set this to 0.75 of a second. Exposed to Unity. You have to give it a name first. Move time. Move time. Exposed to Unity. Save it. Okay. I am out of coffee. Okay, see that it moved to minus 30, 0, 0, actually. Yes. Which is y0 and z0, which put it back in the center of the world and here. So let's go back. How do I fix that? Right. I think I do want it to be used as an offset. True. So you can't just turn this on. Notice if you look up here at this node, right? There is it tells you what that Boolean is, true or false, right? So this Boolean variable, I could actually add a variable in here that's a bool and set this and expose it, etc. But let's not do that. Let's just use it as an offset, set it to true. I'm never going to touch that thing again, probably. Save it. So whatever location it's at, I want it to move minus 30 on the x-axis. Oh, Carol, I was just setting myself up for the next step since I was there, because that spawn point will become useful for having a building on the other side. But yes, right now, see it spawned in and moved down that way. So I'm going the wrong direction. Let's do this. Uscript, instead of moving that direction, let's actually go in the positive x. Let's play it again. Notice there was no compile because all they did was it moved by so fast that we missed it. Let's call it, let's just move it 10 for now so we can see it stop. And then let's go back to our script. I have a feeling we do need to adjust how fast it's going. Maybe move time is there. Let's go back to uscript and look. Do you see transition time? Oh, there it is. Yeah, building move time. Yeah, let's call it 3 seconds. Move it 20 units. Save. Alright, here it comes. Yay! Move it 40 again. Alright, and we have a couple problems. We have one building, it's only on one side of the street, and it moves off the world. So we need to do it again, but we're not going to do it every time the graph enables. We need to kick off some other sort of event. So, here are my questions. This. Let's add a new slide, add a blank. Text. I need to spawn buildings. All right. Also, how do I know when to delete buildings? Anybody got? You guys start. All right. Later, Jeff. Hasta luego, dude. Alright. I will burn through the next piece here. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to end once we get to answering these two questions. I'm going to burn through it a little bit quick, and then I will answer some questions. Okay, guys? Later, Jeff. Now, let's do... So we could do a random spawn point. I've already showed that. But what I want to do is actually spawn something at both spawn points. Can I do spawn point left and then duplicate this? Control C, Control V, turn this one into spawn point right. Will this allow me to do 2 spawn points? It will not. So we will do what we did last time, which is duplicate all of this, pull this out, spawn point right, do this, do this. We're going to use the same prefab. So every time we pick, when it starts, it should spawn 2 buildings, right? Save. it should spawn the same building at 2 spawn points, and then those buildings will then identify themselves as the spawn game object, and they will move into relative to themselves. Let's do this. I'm going to go ahead and fix this while I'm on it. Okay, and the move time is the same. I do want them to move in unison. It's fine to use those variables across. Okay. Oh, so I changed the script. That means that over here, my spawn point list, remember it was just spawn point and then I changed it to left and right? But basically what I did is I invalidated this input. So let's go back to scene, spawn point left, scene, spawn point right, save it. Okay, now let's actually do this again. Get to our next piece of the puzzle. Let's go back to the scene. Let's look. Oh boy, my buildings are there. Holy shit, what's going to happen? I don't want them to stay out there behind the camera the whole time. I'm going to solve 2 of my questions at the same time. So let's do this. My problem is I don't want those buildings there anymore at the end because I know it's going to build up and be an issue. So what I'm going to do is create an empty object. And we'll call this death. Building death trigger. And in fact, I think what I'm going to do is the category that this is in first is actually a trigger first. And I'll call it a trig. Building death. What we'll do is add a component, right? Physics component, not a rigid body, a collider. See this checkbox is trigger, right? We'll make the size of this. Let's move this to here. Just focus in on it so we can see it. Right? Now, we're going to bring this to 0, so it's at 0. So this direction. C, correct. 0 and Z, so it's in the middle. Let's make it 10 units wide. That gets us wide enough. Move it up a little bit. I think I want to make it 6 units tall. I want to make sure that when it runs into it, that it's tall enough for the center of the building to go through. And what if I make different sized buildings, right? And then we're going to make it 2 units wide. And then I'll move it along here. Okay, let's make the transition time a little slower. Building move time 3 seconds. Let's make it 5 seconds just so I can test my work. Building death trigger. I did find it. Come on. Trigger. Building death. I've made this mistake multiple times today by not hitting enter in this field to sort of take it. Okay, it's a trigger. Let's now do, back to here, back to our use script. Let's find a nice open space. Actually, I'm going to add it to the end of this just as so that you can see like there's a node narrative. And we'll put these together because we're dealing with the buildings. Okay, on spawn, it makes these objects. I actually do want build spawn right. Okay. Do not expose it to Unity. I do not want to change that out there. Build underscore spawn left. Okay. So now I can play with these variables somewhere else. What we can do, and I'm going to build this in a long chain, you'll see that this is starting to get really hard to read. I will fix this in the next episode, but we're going to add an action that, well, actually, you know what? I just built the failsafe in, but I forgot that this node has a finished one move. So add an action. right, to a game object.